Hi, it's Tess again from The Bold Life. Today I want to talk about courage and how to become a courageous person. This week is about our having an attitude of bold or courage or being brave. You want that attitude. What is that for you? Do you know anybody with a bold attitude? Your belief system. We have to get that stronger. We have to believe that we are bold, that we are courageous, that we are brave. If we don't believe it, nobody's going to believe it for us, and we're not going to be able to move forward. So what we want to do is adopt a belief system and an attitude of bold. Bold, courageous, and brave. All of those. So how does one become that? Well, what is it exactly that you want to do? What are your fears about doing that? And a bold person needs to go to what you desire, because whatever that desire is, your fear is on that path along the way. So I believe that we were all born with innate courage. It was there from the start. But what happened was, things happened to us and we became fearful. We did things and they didn't work out and we became fearful. We adopted the fears of our siblings or our parents or our caregivers. And then it's our culture. It's so full of fear. And that can wear and tear on our mental beliefs about ourselves. So what we need to do is uncover that courage that has been there all the time and is still there. So I would suggest that we all take courageous action. And there's no way out of it except through it. One thing that we do tend to do is maybe jump into things too fast. And I believe that the only thing that is needed is penguin steps. We only need to take small steps along the way. One small step. Let's say I get up today and I don't want to write. I just need to take one small step. Just go sit down at my computer and begin. I can write for 5 minutes. And then when that step's taken, I can add another 5. So figure out one small step and take it. And when you reach that, you can take another small step and another small step. So what can you do today? What can that small step be for you? I want you to figure that out. I want you to take that small step, and I want you to tell us on our Facebook page what that small step is and how many more steps you possibly decided to take after taking that one. The only way we get through our fears, again, is with action. People often ask me how I became so bold, and I didn't have a choice. I was born into, anyway, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I had 9 siblings, so we were always fighting for my parents' attention, or vying for it, if not fighting. There wasn't enough to go around. So if you didn't put yourself out there, you weren't going to get it. And when we ate, when you have 9 siblings sitting at the table with you, if you don't take that food or what you want first, you're not going to get it. Because by the time it passes around the table, there's not going to be anything left on that plate. So I feel like I had to learn how to be assertive, but I didn't even know the word assertive when I was a kid. And I can say I was aggressive. I was aggressive for a long time because I kind of skipped that one step. And if I didn't get my needs met as a child, I became desperate. So I was a strong person and I was aggressive. I learned later in life to step back. I didn't need to be that way, but as a child, I certainly felt I needed to. That's how I got my needs met. Well, I lived on an 88-acre produce farm, and all of us had to work. We had to work every day. It didn't matter that we were 5 years old. It didn't matter that we were 7 years old. We were required to be out in the fields. We had produce. And we had to plant, we had to irrigate, we had to harvest, and we had to sell it. And so the days we weren't working in the field, we were at the farmer's market. And my father told us that we had to walk up there and say to those people, "Can I help you?" And we had to meet their needs. And we didn't have a choice. He told us that the truckload needed to be sold by the time he picked us up at 5 o'clock that evening, and we sold it. I mean, there were days where we didn't sell all of it, but there weren't very many days that truck came home at least 3/4 empty, because we had to. Again, I didn't feel like we had a choice. That was my job growing up. Those were my parents. We did what we were told. But in that process, so many of the gifts that I have today are from that difficult childhood and those difficult jobs. We didn't play. We didn't have time to play. And so we really didn't have a childhood, but I certainly have reaped the benefits from the gifts that I received at that time in my life that I didn't know at the time that I was receiving. So that's the story of how I became bold. And so now as an adult, there's nobody pushing me. I have to choose to put myself out there and do new things. And part of these new things are doing these videos, doing this course, and allowing it not to be perfect. How can it be perfect? It's my first time. And what's failure? Let's say nobody signed up for this. Would it be failure? I would have learned how to do these videos. So I don't think so. I think we have to take our judgment off of what we're doing, off of our bold actions, and just do it. Doesn't matter if it turns out. And it's really good if you can let go of the attachment of how it turns out. Because at that point, then it really doesn't matter. Because if we're not attached to the ending, our happiness isn't going to depend on it. And that's another way we set ourselves up, is that we want to get it right the first time. We want to be perfect the first time. And of course that happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen all the time. I'm not even sure it happens half the time. Things go well for me, but they go well because I do well. And if I didn't put in that effort, and if I didn't put in that commitment, and if I didn't put in that discipline, well, then it wouldn't work out in the end anyway. So again, what kind of bold actions can you take? Bold actions, but penguin steps. Because there are always small steps and bold actions to be taken. And some of us don't like calling people and asking for help. Well, maybe your action today can be to make one phone call. And regardless of the answer, you're going to call it a success, because you actually, and no leaving a message and calling that a phone call. You have to make contact with a person. So that's an example. It could be a phone call. It could be walking into a support group, one that you know you need, but you haven't been willing to walk through that door and say, this is who I am. I'm here because I want help or because I need support. And who doesn't need help and support in some area in your life or in our life? That's another bold thing that I did when I was very young, was I went and I got help. I went to a therapist with my husband, and we worked hard and long on our marriage. We were young when we got married. We had 4 children early in our marriage, and of course our life was chaos because we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know a thing about parenting, but I did know that I wanted to grow, and I knew that I wanted to stay with my family. I wanted my family to work, and that's what motivated me to take that step. And we finished with couples therapy, and then I decided to continue in therapy and heal my own past. And because again, I don't like being miserable, so I need to keep moving in my growth forward, or I'm selling myself short. Anyway, that's one of my beliefs. So I stayed and I healed my past. And again, it's hard work. And we didn't have insurance. We paid out of pocket. We hired a babysitter. And so if you're willing, if you can commit, and if you stay disciplined, you can do anything, because I just know if I can, you can. There's not any difference between us. And then, of course, as our children grew up, because therapy worked for us, or we made it work, a little of both, we told our children that if they ever needed help and felt they couldn't come to us, that they could feel free to get out support outside. And they also at times went and saw what became our family therapist. So that's just another example of a bold action, and it was the best thing I could do. Or it was the best thing I could do at the time, and it's one of the best things I ever did. I'm still married today, and we're just doing, great in our relationship. Not that every relationship is free of ups and downs. It's not. That's just life. But because of all that therapy, when I went to grad school, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a therapist. So all of those steps added up to something big, to something I had no idea that this would happen at the time. I never woke up one day and said I want to become a therapist. That just happened because of all those penguin steps that I took along the way. Again, we don't do things in big leaps, although we can go bungee jump. That's one big leap. You can do physical things in big leaps like that. However, in my opinion, I think that all real change comes from small steps. It's like the example of somebody losing a lot of weight quickly and they can't keep it off because the change wasn't deep enough. They didn't change their core beliefs and their core actions. And so what happens is the weight comes back. So when you want to beat yourself up, when you think things are impossible, when you're hard on yourself, when you judge yourself, stop. Stop. Pause. Breathe. And take one little step. Forget about any giant leaping. You don't have to. Again, all those little steps add up. So, there we have it. We want to take small steps. We want to commit. We want to participate on the Facebook page. We want to keep up with the exercises. We want to watch the videos and keep going one day at a time. All those days will add up. And at the end of this, you're going to be changed. You're going to be a different person. You're going to know a lot of things and a lot of steps and a lot of tips that you didn't know before. So I think that's it for this video, and I'm going to turn it off. Thank you.